My name is Dylan Borland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and ARROW with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with crafting technologies that are not ours and are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed. From 2011 to 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces in the global war on terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 0130, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base.
And they counted between 35 and 40 infant and juvenile Bigfoot prints.
They kept getting run off at night by these big balls of light, these balls of light that would basically chase them out if they were there too late. And then one night he was there late, everybody else had left, and he could hear something walking around the dig area, and he could hear something following him. There were enormous wolf tracks that had followed him down. And what's really strange to begin with is there were no wolves back in the 70s, 80s. I mean, even now they're really rare in southern Utah. This wolf had followed him down to his car, and when he'd left, it turned and started out through the sagebrush into the desert, and they followed it. It transformed into a barefoot human track and continued on to the desert.
What I can tell you right now is you're telling me things that you can't find on YouTube or you can't find on any books. You have to be a researcher in the field to know certain things that are not out there, and you're hitting all the things that are not out there. I can tell you right now, you're not crazy. And she goes, yeah, you're legit generational abductee.
In the middle of the woods at the moment.
Yes, sir. I'm familiar with the area. What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the back of my truck!
My name is Jeffrey Nusatelli. I'm a former military police officer with 16 years of active duty service in the U.S. Air Force. I'm here today because the American people have both the right and the responsibility to know the truth about unidentified aerial phenomenon. That truth remains hidden, classified and silenced by fear, retaliation, stigma, and confusion. Today, we are here to help break that silence. Between 2003 and 2005, 5 UAP incidents occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base, home to the National Missile Defense Project, a top national security priority. At the time, we were conducting launches deemed by the National Reconnaissance Office as the most important in 25 years. These were historic launches. These facilities were vital, and they were repeatedly visited by UAP. Each incident was witnessed by multiple personnel, documented, investigated, and reported up the chain of command. We sent information up, but we got no guidance down on how to handle these events. I personally witnessed one of these events and investigated others as they occurred. 6 other service members have provided me with the information that I will share with you today.
Yeah, so it's been actually kind of cold here since I got moved. Well, not, yeah, I moved into my new apartment. Definitely not when I was down near Mexico for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That had so many bugs that I think I was traumatized. It was I had this invasion of beetles while I was staying in the cabin.
Oh no.
And these they were, I don't even know what they were. I tried to find them online on like the Texas Extension Service. Mm-hmm. And they were like these tiny little beetles, and I couldn't find them, but they were awful. And so my cousin had installed this air conditioning, like a window AC unit, and they had put up like temporary like tape around it. Well, the heat had made the tape separate from the frame. So the window unit had like these gaping holes around it, and these stupid little beetles came in, and they were like coming in the vent through the holes in the air conditioning unit, and they were flying in, and they were everywhere. And like I found one in bed with me, and I freaked out and jumped out of bed, and I was like, oh my God. And I had like
my nightmare.
I had like sticky traps everywhere. I was running around with like a shop vac, like vacuuming them everywhere. They were like all over the floor. It felt like and then like one day I was like, I had to like go up to the main house to have dinner with my aunt and uncle. And I started to open the door, and they were covered with the screen door. And I was like, nope. No, I'm eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich today.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, they were just
gross.
And then I ended up like retaping the air conditioner unit, and like, well, I went full patrol. Assault on these stupid little beetles. And then like 4 days later, they were gone. I was like, okay.
Weird.
Yeah. Bugs. I've been battling bugs since I've been in Texas.
Bugs, dude. That's why I won't move to Texas. I don't do bugs.
Bugs and snakes. Now, down there where I was staying, at first there were vipers, and I saw 2 tarantulas and a scorpion, and apparently a lot of beetles.
Tarantulas are fine. You can keep all the rest. That stuff's nasty.
Yeah.
Gross.
Lots of bugs. I've been battling bugs on the move. So I thought I'd start off the podcast, and we might have just a lot of pre-roll here, but that's cool. I thought we would just talk about like how we met and what direction we wanted to do and go and be for this collaboration, I guess. So yeah. I thought maybe we'd start with like how we met, like
at work. Wasn't it work? Oh God. And, was that when we worked at Castle Peak, or was it before that? Okay.
Castle Peak. And for the sake of not mentioning names, I would have to say Mr. Puffy Coat. I was trying to think of a name for Mr. I thought Mr. Puffy Coat would be good. This guy, he was our manager, and he wore his puffy coat in July, probably.
Yeah, he did.
He would walk up to tables with his puffy coat on and his hands in his pockets.
Oh my God.
It's just so awkward.
I'd forgotten about that.
Remember when
he was a stalker? Like, remember he would go out to the airport and write down tail numbers and come back and Google them.
He would write down
tail numbers of airplanes and come back and Google them to see who was in town. You remember him doing that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird. Well, he kind of, I remember he had a pretty important girlfriend who, like, everybody knew. She seemed like she was pretty cool, but he was just weird. Really and weird. I was trying to think of his other quirks, some of his other quirks that he had, but mainly he was just kind of a creep. Remember when somebody on Yelp wrote, "Great food, but who's the creepy guy in the puffy coat?" or something like that?
Yes. Man, that place had fire food though. So there was
Yeah, it
that.
did.
Those
Yeah, I remember.
pizzas.
So anyway, that's where we met. And that was that 2015? Was that like 10 years ago? Or was it 20? I'm trying to think because I started working there after I was working at this other restaurant up on the hill in Edwards that became a private lodge. And then it became a retreat for the wealthy for addiction treatment.
Was that about Cordillera?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, lodge and spa.
I want to say that was like 2012.
Trying to think. Well, I was out of
that's when I was with John, was in 2012.
Well, I know I started working there, I think it was 2014 at the lodge. And I was there for about, maybe it was, I don't know. It was either 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Time flies, man.
I'm trying to remember the whatever nightmare I was dating. The string of boyfriends that I had that didn't work out.
Right.
So many. G-Man. Let's call him G-Man.
G-Man.
Puffy G-Man. The guy I went to Puerto Rico. So many stories. We'll call him G-Man. I better edit that name out. Chances are he'll never find me, but that's okay. But yeah, he was this was the guy that bought a 10-pound bag of potatoes to feed his dog because he didn't have any money and he spent all of his money on weed.
Wow. Potatoes of all the things.
Yeah.
I mean, they are cheap.
They are cheap. Yeah. When you don't have money to feed your dog, just buy him a 10-pound bag of potatoes.
Potatoes. You make him some potato chips.
Mashed, fried.
Mashed, fried.
All the things you can do with potatoes.
They're a super vegetable.
Not to mention the nutrient deficiencies for a canine diet.
Right.
Why is your dog 100 pounds and has bad skin? I don't know. It's because all
he likes his potatoes, man.
That's all he does, eat potatoes. Yeah, so that was G-Man. So, so many stories with that guy, but I can't tell them all. Yeah. Might be bad.
Yeah, no. Kind of wild.
Same guy that offered to drive my car was dying. He said, I know people. I can have your car basically stolen and driven off of a cliff. I'm like, what? Who says that?
Psycho.
You have to go. Sooner rather than later.
Red flag number 987.
We could have a whole podcast on all my really bad boyfriends.
Oh my gosh. Same. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So that's where we met. Bartending and serving and our adventures there. And then take it from here. What I don't even remember. It's all been a blur.
Yeah, it really has.
We're in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And and so for the listeners, I took a little bit of a long break, because I was in the middle of selling my house. And I don't know if anyone's ever tried to sell a house, but it's kind of a nightmare. And I just couldn't do it. I could not manage booking guests, editing audio, dealing with the schedule, because running a podcast is like a part-time job if you have a lot of guests all the time with no money. And so my thought was, hey, Sara and I can collab. We can talk about anything. So we're going to collab on this for some episodes. And we're going to really have some fun with this, and we'll see where it goes. No promises. Let's just see what happens, right? Sara brings a love of all things weird and the paranormal. And she and I just recently went into, we did the Nebraska Bigfoot conference together, had a blast.
Yeah.
Total fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we got to talking, and so going to these conferences, you learn a lot and you get to meet some really cool people. And one thing I was saying was, you kind of like set everything aside and you just get to meet people at this most basic common shared interest of mystery and science and experience, right? And you forget all the other stuff that they might have going on in their lives, but it's this shared passion, right? And these conferences, if you haven't been to a conference, they're so much fun. But yeah, we had a blast there. And so we want to bring more women. Anyway, I guess what I was going with is that they're heavily dominated by men in this industry. And I don't know why that is. I mean, there's definitely a lot of women, outspoken women who are interested in the weird and the strange and the unexplained. And my question is, why can't more women participate?
Well, because we're too busy raising families and, working, cooking, cleaning.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Women take on a lot when maybe we should say, no, I'm going to go out and hunt for Bigfoot. You take the trash out. You go clean the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Break those societal norms.
Absolutely. So we want to, number one, be the voice of everyone, but also be the voice of women and say, hey, why not?
Yeah.
Let's have fun. Let's meet some cool people. Not saying that it's just about women, but we just want to be more, what's the female perspective? Because I spend a lot of time listening to a lot of men talk about this, and they're very knowledgeable, and I've learned so much, and I just learn something every day. But I want to see, the more voices, the better. And there's certain outspoken people in this exploratory field that have a lot of opinions. I've been hearing that a lot, listening to certain people, and I highly respect them. But I think we do need more people to be more outspoken about it and to question things, and to, if we don't know the answers to something, let's find out. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, that for women to talk about stuff like this, it's kind of maybe was more taboo, if that's the correct word. It's not something that women were really like able to talk about, because it's not something like we felt like we could talk about, that kind of interest. It's like guys in sports, and it's just now getting to the point where women are also really interested in sports. So why couldn't it be that kind of a thing where now women are interested in, ghost hunting a little bit more so, I guess, than squatching? But why not? I mean, we can, we're just breaking away from that mold of getting out of high school and getting married and having kids, and just kind of like women are starting to discover who we are a little bit more than just being moms and wives. And I just really think that that's probably part of it. A lot of people just never really realized that it was something that they could be interested in. I don't know.
Yeah. I hear there's a lot of wives that tag along with a lot of the guys. And I think that's great. And they're all like super supportive of their husbands. At least that's what all the guys say. I think that's great. It's kind of like a family, and even some kids too. Like even, some of these guys that are out in the field doing research, a lot of times they'll like bring their kids with them, and then they're trying to like create that next generation, because a lot of the old guys, they're dying off. Like Dr. Jeff Meldrum just died, and we lost a huge one.
Yeah.
Really, really sad. I almost got to meet him. He died. He was actually, when I was at Phenomicon, he had to be airlifted out, or he was having his medical crisis. And so I was supposed to have dinner with him. And of course we didn't know when we were at the conference. I'm sure Cliff Barrickman knew, because they're like best friends. But I was just shocked when I got back, and a few days later or a week later or so, it came out that he had passed away, and it was just like, oh, no way.
Wow.
So yeah, but I think there's definitely some value in getting your family involved in some of this, and some of the BFRO expeditions. I think I'm not sure if they allow. I think they allow like older kids. I'm not sure how that works, but I mean, I can't imagine bringing a toddler, but
Right.
you can definitely bring a kid in high school if they're passionate about it, you know. And some of these kids have experiences too.
Oh, for sure. Well, and kids are more prone to have those experiences because they're more open-minded, and they're more willing to accept the things that we as adults may not be as willing to accept.
Absolutely, especially
Are your
with
kids into it?
Oh, yeah. You know, it's funny. I have my kids are, I would say, growing into it slowly at their own pace. And I think there's some eye rolling there, but I think that happens with anything with your parents, you know, like, oh, okay, mom this or dad this or whatever. But I also feel like I create an open space and a safe space for them to say, hey, I had this experience. What do you think this means? You know?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's paranormal. And then if I can see which, you know, I can see that all my kids are really intuitive. And so I encourage them to, you know, to really listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it means, because it's not, you know, it's there because it's supposed to be there. So yeah, I think it should be a family thing, and kids are definitely more open, especially when they're little. As far as the paranormal, you know, like I started having experiences when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and I think kids are just more naturally receptive to that, you know. And then when they go to their parents and they say, hey, what's this thing that's happening to me at night or whatever, or I saw this thing, what do you think this means? Oh, that's just your imagination. And you know, parents are, and that says more about the parents, I think, than it says about anything. You know, the parents are uncomfortable with it because of maybe it's their faith, or maybe it's just that they just don't have the language for it. They don't understand it themselves. And so it's just easier to say, oh, that's just your imagination, you know?
Right. Well, and it's about the unknowing too. You sometimes can be just afraid of what you don't know. And I think that's a lot of what holds people back from really being into paranormal is just the fear of the unknown, and just the unwillingness to really be able to open your mind to a point where you can accept those things for being factual instead of just being something crazy that somebody said.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Oh man, what a deep dive into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
But okay, so I'm sorry, my neighbor's dog is barking. I've decided that my neighbors, this is my first time living in an apartment in a really, really long time. And I'm just quickly learning that multifamily living is not my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to have amenities, but also like my neighbor's dog there's this point in time in the morning. I don't know what they must like go to work or something, and the dog freaks out for like 10 minutes and just barks nonstop. It's like, well, if I wasn't awake now, I'd definitely awake.
Yeah.
Anyway, sidetrack. But yeah, so a little bit about ourselves. So we both lived in Colorado for a really long time and made it our home. I raised kids there. We both had a lot of amazing jobs there. Both worked for ski resorts. So let's talk about
jobs, experiences. I mean,
yeah,
I
let's talk
remember
about
going
job
up
experiences.
And,
What about ski resorts? Let's talk about ski resorts.
That was probably not one of my favorite jobs, but I just didn't like I mean, you're living in Eagle, it's a commute, or Gypsum, it's a commute. You're driving 2 hours to work in the snow, if that were the case. But I don't know. I think it was very interesting to be around that type of clientele. Just very wealthy people are just so much so much like us, and we don't realize. I think we don't realize that really, I think, just helps us to be able to tolerate more things in life when you're dealing with wealthy people, and really just catering to whatever they could possibly ever want. I found it really just kind of fascinating to see that, you'd have all your regular customers and you find out that they're just people like you. And that was always one of my favorite parts of it, meeting like Scott McFarlane and Christy Brinkley, and just meeting people that are famous, and you're like, wow, this person is really like just on vacation with their family, like they're just like me. But I don't know, I do miss it a lot. I would love to go back, but too old for that now.
Yeah, the famous people thing. Yeah, when you work at a high-end resort like Vail or Beaver Creek, which, I didn't work at Vail, but I worked at Beaver Creek, and so did you. And, it was really a cool experience. And I remember getting so frustrated getting dirt pay, because I was paying for my culinary education, getting dirt pay. And then I remember I'd given my 2 weeks notice, and I was writing down from my last assignment. I had 3 assignments there during culinary school. And so this is my last one. And it was on mountain dining. And we had to take the sleigh down. It was like 1:00 in the morning. I was so tired, post holidays, but it was still just like crazy. You have to ride the snowcat up for I know you know this, but just for the listeners. So we'd have to ride the snowcat up to work. You'd work your shift, whatever. And then you had to wait for the snowcat to go down. Everything was by snowcat. But the sleigh ride, and then sometimes we'd take the sleigh down with the horses, and that was really, really cool. But I remember at my last assignment, and I was coming down on the sleigh. It was super late. I was like, my kids were at home, and I just wanted to be home. Like I just want to get in my car and go home, because when you get to your car, it was like 0 degrees. You had to sit there for 10 minutes and let it warm up. It's just this whole thing. You're getting home really, really late. And you're tired, you're exhausted, your feet stink, your clothes stink, everything smells like, I don't know, whatever.
Food.
And you got to get up in the morning and do it again. And you have to plan your whole day. An 8-hour shift becomes an 11.5-hour shift for very little pay, but you're doing it for the experience. And the experience I got was incredible. But I remember coming down on one of those sleigh rides on my last season, and I was thinking, find gratitude, because you're never going to do this again. Hard no. Never doing this again. But this is one of those times in your life that I'm having this experience, and I can talk about it to my grandkids someday, hopefully, about how I got to ride a horse and sleigh down from work and got to work in some of the best restaurants.
For sure.
And on mountain dining on a mountain. And it was really cool. And it kind of like shifted my perspective on that. But yeah, definitely like meeting some really cool people, getting to do some really interesting things. And yeah, those people are just normal people wanting to have a really cool experience and then go back to their day job, whatever their day job is. Maybe it's nothing. I mean, who knows? But
yeah, I nannied for Johnson & Johnson's at one point for, I don't know, I think they were just up for Christmas, and they had a house over in Vail by the pirate ship. And they had this really cute little kid, and that working for them for those, like, I think it was like a couple of weeks I did, that was the coolest thing I think ever. It was just interesting to see how they live. And at any time you could walk into the kitchen and have a chef prepare you whatever you wanted. And it's just really, really cool to be around just that kind of wealth. I just felt like it was something that really opened me up to, opened up my interpersonal skills, like just being able to work with people like that instead of just being scared of them, being able to just be in that world for a little while, I think was really fun. And I was like working up at Zach's cabin. I mean, that was unforgettable, one of those things that Nikki, I think you're talking about coming down at night. I know one night we had, while I was at work during that shift, we'd had like 3 or 4 feet of snow. So of course, at the end of the night, the clouds go away. It's probably 2 o'clock in the morning. Clouds go away. It was a full moon, and everybody's like, "Let's ride down." So we ride down from Zach's cabin, and it was just the silence was so heavy when you're riding down, and I'll never forget that experience. That was my favorite thing I've ever probably done in my life. But it was just, I think all those little experiences really just kind of made it so much more worth it, because otherwise it just kind of would have not been that much fun. I mean, working 20-hour days, and then even working the 2015 ski races, you work for 19 hours, and then you spend an hour going home, and then you sleep for 4 hours, and then spend an hour going back up to work. But those things really shape who we are, I think, as people. And it makes me want to work less hard, because I spent so much of my like young adult life working so incredibly hard. This, like working 3, 4 jobs. It's just, I don't know, it really just shapes who you are as a person. And I feel like now that's why I want to get more into into the podcasting aspect of it, and I'm into opening my own business. I think that, there comes a time when you have to decide that, you're not just going to work for the rest of your life. I think it's important to really learn how to embrace the things that make you you. And what do they say? If you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. So I just kind of want to get to that point where, we discover these things and get out and maybe do some field work, and just really have more than just more experiences than just working.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Gosh, 100%. Everything you said times a million. Yeah. When I left Colorado, I had about 6 different jobs. And it was that was kind of my decision, among other things, that made me decide to sell my house and move, other than to be near my parents, which is the primary reason. Parents are getting older, and having family near them was really important to our family. And so I took one for the team. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how long I'm going to be here. It's kind of out of my hands. It's for the universe to decide. Yeah. But another factor was the stress level. Like, I'm sitting here. When I first moved to Colorado, I was 26, I think. And it was great for a really long time. And I got to do all those amazing things that I wanted to do, like go to the mountain and, mountain biking and hiking and, blah, blah, blah. But by the end, because of the economy, and we can all think about that because it's happening everywhere, all over the country. But because of the terrible economy and other different social factors, I was working my ass off in a way that was so stressful that it was really unhealthy. And so doing things like this podcast, which I started, and it's like my favorite job, really. If I could just do this the rest of my life, I'd be fine. Just got to figure out a way to make a little bit of money at it. Yeah. So hang in there, listeners. Tell all your friends. But yeah, it just became so unhealthy. It was like, all right, I got to break this cycle somehow. I have to just break this cycle, and whatever happens is going to happen. And just by sitting here trying to patch it, it's like putting a patch over, like, here's a patch here, here's a patch there. Let's put another patch on this problem. Let's put another patch on that problem. It wasn't working anymore. And even though I had to leave a lot of friends, that was really hard. But my friends are still there. Yeah. By phone. Or visits when I go back, and I had to leave part of my family, but my family's still there. So, I think when you decide to move to a place and you really, really love it, and then it changes over time and it ceases to become what you originally went there for, then that's when you need to reevaluate and say, okay, I'm more than this, and I need to find some more balance. So, that was a huge, huge factor. And the economy in Colorado sucks.
So bad.
Balls. right now, and let's hope it gets better. But yeah, it's really, really hard. Yeah, it's beautiful and looks like great on Instagram, but the reality of it is it's a really hardcore place to live and to be healthy. So
you got to work to live. And my brother's always wanting me to come back. He's like, hey, I'll rent you out my basement bedroom for $1,000 a month. And I'm like, why would I do that when I live in a huge apartment right next to a lake for less than $1,000 a month? My own apartment, like not even your basement bedroom. Like, I love my brother, but I just I don't want to go back to working 3 jobs to survive. And even, you end up making money, but then you don't have any time to spend your money because you're working all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a vicious cycle. And I mean, I would never take back working there and living there and having the experiences I had there. I would, you'd work 80 hours a week, and then, and at the end of the month or in a couple of months, you'd take off 5 days and go camping. There were so many benefits to being able to just go out into the wilderness. I think that's the thing I miss most about Colorado, besides, of course, people, but just that ability to go off in the middle of nowhere where you're 5 miles away from the closest person and just be able to sit and really just soak in where you're at. I need to go back and look through all my pictures. That's kind of on my list of things to do this week, because I have taken pictures and never looked at them on anything other than my phone. So I'm like, I wonder what I've captured in the years, like going up to the flat tops and just running around half naked like a wild child for 5 days. And just, and I know when we were at the conference, like hearing some of those sounds, that stuff really got to me. I'm like, man, I know that I wasn't up there alone. There's no way I was up there alone.
Totally.
So
yeah. And it's so funny that you mentioned that, because while I was packing, like most of my stuff I had to leave in Colorado because of my move was just so chaotic. Basically like 2 carloads and a cat and a dog. It just, I would never recommend moving the way I moved because it was just kind of a nightmare. Okay. So anyway, all of my photo albums, but we're talking back in the day, I have photo albums of being out in the wilderness, and I spent about a solid 3 years rafting every weekend through Colorado, Utah. We would go out every weekend and go rafting and camp on the river. I spent most of my life outside during that time. I got to the point where I felt more comfortable in the woods than I felt in my apartment.
Yes,
absolutely. And it's really a unique place to be when that mindset shifts and you feel more comfortable among the trees and the rocks and the river. And you have to go back to this place that you're living, this box. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I don't feel grounded now, but I feel really grounded outside. But yeah, when you're shitting in the woods every weekend into an ammo can, and
find a nice stump, man. You got to find a nice stump with a good view and shit off the side of it.
Well, I mean, it was so funny on these rafting trips. Like, let me circle back and I'll tell you about the best toilet on the planet. But yeah, so I was flipping through, I was packing up my stuff very early this year and looking through my photo albums. I'm like, oh man, there's got to be something here in these photos. Because at the time, I was actually having photos printed out. This was back in, this would have been 2005 to 2009, somewhere around there. I mean, yeah, we had cell phones, but we didn't keep photos on our phones back then. I had like a little digital snap camera, and so I'd get my photos printed out like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and hearing, listening to these stories for the past 4 years or whatever, all the sounds are very familiar to me. I just didn't know what they were. Mm-hmm. And I know that out in the wilderness, I have not been alone. And there have been times I can count probably on one hand where I got that creepy feeling like something's around me. I'm going to walk back to camp, hearing noises, but not really knowing what the noises were because I just didn't know. And there was one time I was hiking out between Aspen and I think it was between Carbondale and Aspen. And I was out, I met a friend out there for a campfire. And we were like taking a walk around, and this campground was abandoned because it was like during the week and it was fall and all the kids had gone back to school. So there weren't any families out there. And so we like met up, had a little campfire, made some hot dogs or whatever, took a walk around the abandoned campground. And I had my dog Luther with me, my German Shepherd. And yeah, I miss him so much. He was a great boy. But yeah, so we're walking around this campground. I'm like, something's wrong. And I remember the forest just getting so quiet. And I'm like, there's something here. We need to go back to the truck. There's something not right. And at the time I thought mountain lion, bear, whatever. But since that time, having so many experiences with bears, bears don't stalk you.
No,
at least not in Colorado. They up in the Pacific Northwest, grizzlies or Montana. Yeah, maybe. But they're not out to stalk humans. Mountain lions will. But so the only thing that it could have been a mountain lion. Very likely. And I know there's times when I could have been very near mountain lions. But who knows? And I don't know, but that's my creepy experience.
What do you think it was that got you into Bigfoot, got you into just all of that? Was there a specific event, or was it just you kind of went to somewhere, talked to somebody about it, and that got you into it?
I have always, since I was a kid, I remember seeing the Patterson-Gimlin film. And I don't know where I saw it. I was obviously, it was probably on the news or something. Cause we didn't have YouTube back then, and I cannot it was probably on like some kind of mysteries TV program or something.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah. Or something like, yeah, it could have been that. I can't put, it was back in the 70s probably where I saw the film. And I think when I saw that, I knew that it was not a hoax. Even as a kid, I'm like, this is not a hoax. Why would someone go to this trouble? Yeah. So it was always in the back of my mind. And then I think it was back in was it late 70s or maybe it was the early 80s? People are always talking about the Yeti, the abominable snowman. I remember that was like a big, big theme back in the 80s. And I remember I would always ask my friends, hey, do you think the abominable snowman is real? And no one ever wanted to talk to me about it. Do you think Bigfoot is real? And that sort of thing as a kid. And I remember trying to find information in like the encyclopedia and books. And I grew up in a really, really, really rural town in Illinois up until about 7th grade. And our library sucked. They're just, really desolate library.
Yeah.
I could never find any information on the mysteries that I wanted to find information on. So when we moved to Texas, I remember finding some books. I don't remember what they were, but I remember finding more information as I got older. And then there was just a big gap, and it was just always in my heart. I knew this is a real thing and there's more than one. It's not like there's this myth that, there's just one. No, there's thousands.
Yeah.
And just always knowing that it's real. And then I became involved in all things mysterious and unknown and developed those abilities within myself, probably after my brother died. And then became very in touch with the paranormal and that sort of thing, and developed that during the pandemic. And then I started listening, and then I found podcasts. And that would have been 2017 when I found podcasts. And I started devouring podcasts like nothing, because I was cleaning houses and started listening to podcasts while I cleaned. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of cleaning toilets for families and Airbnbs and VRBOs, and just consuming podcast after podcast after podcast. And then I realized, whoa, this is really powerful. And I realized soon that and not to mention that I have an education in journalism and anthropology and sociology.
Yeah.
And so it really struck a chord with me. And I thought, I want to do this somehow. But for now, back then, for now, it's like, I'm just going to listen. I want to just listen and learn. And I found Jim Harold's paranormal podcast first. And, of course, My Favorite Murder.
Of course.
Who doesn't love My Favorite Murder?
Oh my gosh.
For the criminal side. We can't. Yeah. But then I became more heavily persuaded into the paranormal. And then I found Bigfoot podcasts. And then I was like, oh, and then parapolitics. And yeah. So anyway, it was just an evolving thing where I just kept wanting more and more and more and more. And I was like, I cannot be the only female that's interested in this.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
How about you?
I've just always been into anything unknown. I had a book when I was little. I was probably like 10 or 11, and it just had all kinds of weird stories about like a couple in England are driving somewhere through the fog, and they pop out of the fog and they're like 500 miles away from where they were. Just anything unknown has always piqued my interest. Is like where most people kind of shy away from that kind of stuff. I'm like, no, give me more of it. It's kind of my thing. And then just the Bigfoot thing came from you. You're like, hey, let's go to this thing. And I was like, let's go to this thing. And then while we were there, it just like the amount of times the hair on the back of my neck stood up, because I was like, oh wow, like this is not fake. And then I also was watching a show on, I think it was Discovery Plus on Prime, called Paranormal Caught on Camera, which is an awesome show. And they have all kinds of cool video footage and all kinds of different stuff. So that's really kind of what got me into it. And then it just kind of took off from there. So never know what you might find out that you've been experiencing for years and didn't even know.
Oh yeah, totally. When we were at the conference, and just to mention this, we went to the Nebraska Bigfoot conference, because it was like kind of like a halfway meet for both of us. And I did just call him like, hey, I know you're into the weird. Come to this. We're going to have fun.
Yeah.
I knew you would get hooked. I just knew it. But anyway, when we were there, so if anyone's never, maybe someone's been to this conference. So these conferences are big and small, and pretty much every state has one. And I wanted to experience a lot. I want to go to all of them. But this one was it was kind of cute. It was small. But I was really surprised at the guest speakers they had. And we met some really interesting, notable people. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. It was very small. It's a small field, a small conference. It could be bigger for sure. But what were some of your favorite highlights there?
I think the coolest thing for me was just to see how passionate all these people were about what they were talking about. It was so neat to have that experience of igniting passion through someone else's story. Like, I don't necessarily know if I ever would have thought to go do something like that, but it was so inspiring doing that. I think that those people they're so in touch with what's going on around them. And I found that to be just absolutely fascinating. They are really just into it. And whether or not, they're like, well, whether or not it's happening to you, it's going to happen to me. And it really struck me how these people, like, they were able to explain it in a way that you were right there with them when they had these experiences. And I just thought that was so cool. What was yours? What was your favorite part?
My most favorite part was talking to all the old timers and all the old people, because I love our elders. I really do.
Yeah.
I love hearing. That's part of the reasons why I really like this is I love to hear people's stories and I feel I want to experience their experiences while I'm listening to their story. And it's almost like an immersion. And so who better to have experiences than our elders? And I don't think we give enough respect to our elders in this country.
No.
And it makes me sad. And they have so much to offer. And when you go to these conferences, they get their voice heard from all of their experiences. And so, like, do you remember the older gentleman that we took a little selfie with next to the guy dressed in the Sasquatch costume?
Yeah.
He was so cute. He was like, oh, he must have been 90.
Oh, easy.
He was so cute. I just wanted to hug him. I think we did hug him.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And, we got to meet William Lunsford and what's the guy? Crabtree from Keith Crabtree. We got to meet him.
Yeah.
From Legend of Boggy Creek. And that was really cool. And so going to these smaller conferences around where some of these older people actually live, like, because they were from Arkansas. You actually get to meet some of these old timers because, they're older now and they can't really travel that far. They're not hopping on planes going to these conferences anymore.
Right.
So if you go to their home state, to their home conferences, then you get to meet them because their friends are taking them like, hey, and I think that's really cool that they're still passionate about this and they want to still, it's kind of a really inclusive, closed community and social network that you will not find anywhere because it's kind of a us versus them. Like we're supporting each other and our belief systems. And we just want to bring more people into it and get the truth out and share our experiences. And so I think that's a really, really cool thing. Out of all the attempts at socializing I've had in my 50s, I think this has been the most powerful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that was a really cool experience. I think they might want to consider maybe not having it in February in Nebraska because man, was it cold.
Yeah,
it was really cold.
And my hope is to find some conferences where that's the cool thing about Phenomicon is you can actually go out and do activities. And so I know that some of these other conferences, and I'm going to have to do some research into that, where you can actually go out on an expedition. So that's where I want to go with this next is I want to get on some expeditions and go start exploring. And I've been doing it some on my own, but I think also finding more experienced people to understand like evidence gathering best practices. So I want to mention a couple of things to people. Darby Orcutt is running and heading a program at North Carolina, at University of North Carolina. It's a genome sequencing project to basically prove the species. And so they are gathering evidence, and you can find out a lot of information through Cliff and Bobo's podcast, Bigfoot and Beyond. They have just recently interviewed Darby Orcutt for the second time. And if you're a member of their podcast, Beyond Bigfoot and Beyond, you can get kind of behind the screen additional interviews with Darby. And it's really fascinating. I would highly recommend that podcast to anyone who's interested. I'm going to promote them. It's $5 a month. I think going to the OGs is probably the best practice because there's a lot of people repeating the same things, but theirs is one of the best sources for truth and evidence and research. And, they're the OG team. Not the OG, they're second generation, third generation, or second, I guess. But yeah, really good source of information. But I don't know I forgot what I was going with this. We were talking about like going out in the field and gathering evidence. Yeah. So I want to learn that. And I don't know what I was going with this. What was my, we can edit this part. I went down a rabbit hole. I was talking about Darby Orcutt and
we were talking about the conference.
So anyway, what do you think? Let's flip it though. Since your expertise is in paranormal, what would you like to get out of all of this? Like, do you have an aspiration to go explore old buildings or gather evidence that way, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's hard for me to not have experiences daily. I actually had something happen last night that was really kind of weird. I'd gotten home from door dashing, which I maybe need to not do at night because I tend to listen to true crime while I'm doing it, and it's not a good idea. So I came home and I turned something on, and I was so thoroughly freaked out. And right when I got like really freaked out, my TV went off, and I wouldn't have turned it off myself. So it was like there's something else being like, all right, you've had enough. And I just like, I always have experiences that I can't explain. It was like my car accident the other day. How do I know that I wasn't going to go into that other lane of traffic and cause another accident? I don't know how I knew. I could see it, but I don't know. I didn't turn around. I couldn't see it in my mirrors. But I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. I feel like for a lot of my life, I've been told like, oh, just a coincidence or whatever the situation may be. But I really want to put myself in a situation where I'm able to have those experiences and really just try to get in touch with that like intuitive side of myself. I think that it's something like my mom would always tell me, that stuff's not real. But she knows it's real. I mean, she has to. But I think as a kid, it was just a tactic so that I wouldn't get scared. Now that I'm an adult, I am not scared of anything except for bugs. And I really would love to just explore that a little bit more, like that intuitive side of myself.
Have you been on any haunted house tours?
I haven't, strangely enough.
They're fun.
Yeah.
I've been on a few. Let's see, when we were in Arkansas, my son and I were in Arkansas. It was during the pandemic, which was kind of funny and terrible because you had to wear masks everywhere. But we went, and so we were in, where were we? Eureka. Oh, we were in Eureka Springs, and they had, and my son's usually a good sport with pretty much everything. He'll be like, okay, mom, sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a good sport. But I was like, hey, let's go on this haunted walking tour. He's like, okay. It ended up being really fun. It was the, oh God, I think it was just like okay, let me back up. Eureka Springs is a really cool place, right? Just that, like, there's some really cool places in Arkansas that are really historic and funky and cool. And this place was really interesting. It was like, we went like kind of like walking around town, and it was, number one, really beautiful, just lush and green and quirky and fun, and like antique stores and little restaurants and cafes and historic buildings. And so it was a real, like, just as far as like walking around it, super cool. Highly recommend going and checking it out. So we ended up booking this like little haunted walking tour. So, you meet up at this central location or whatever, and the guide, gives you your spiel or whatever. And then we went into I think we went into 2 different buildings, and then they walked us kind of around telling us about like some historic mansions and a little bit about the history of the area, which it's pretty cool. These little walking tours are kind of fun, and they're usually pretty cheap. Like I think we paid like $30 or something, but you get kind of like the history also of the area that you're doing this little tour on. But so we went into a couple of different I think they were old hotels. One might've been a museum. I can't remember. And then they gave us like EMF meters, and they give you some tools to play around with. And then we were in a big group. And then Logan and I kind of walked off into this one room. We were like playing around with our little EMF meters and got some activity. So that was one thing that we did. And then I also, when I was in Florida, I went and toured the Cuban Club. And that was I think it was Ybor City. I might be wrong on that. But I did that one with another friend who was I met up, that was before the pandemic. That place was off the charts crazy. I literally had to say, all right, you cannot come with me. You have to stay.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty haunted. I got lots of activity there. And it was weird because it was this historic, it was a club. I can't remember the history now. I'm going to have to like look it up, but it was this historic club, and it was for all the Cuban immigrants. And then I think part of it was like a brothel and like, a speakeasy kind of a situation. But then there was like this underground tunnel that went over to this brothel, I think. And I don't know, it was like people would go back and forth. It was like this secret doorway tunnel thing. And it was just, the history of it was just really interesting. And I'm trying to think if there was another one I did. Oh, when I was in Jamaica, I did Rose Hall with my daughters. My daughters hated it. I was like, this is awesome. And they're like, I hate you for bringing me here. That one, I didn't get very much activity. Yeah, but it was just it was a very beautiful, beautiful mansion. So that was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Trying to think if there was any more I did. I feel like there's one other one that I did, but I can't remember. Yeah, those are fun for sure.
Yeah, we have those here in town. I'd love to go check one of those out, but I definitely know we've got some really, really spooky things going on in this town too. But our historical museum, I'm pretty sure, is just off the charts haunted. So I need to go down there while I'm mostly unemployed. Check it out.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you might be surprised at what they tell you if you do one of those little tours.
Yeah.
I remember when I was one of my other good friends, who's been on this podcast, Jess. We used to clean this museum. I won't say the name of it, in Breckenridge. And she cleaned it for a couple, several years. And then she ended up having a job change or something. And she's like, hey, do you want to take this over? It pays really well and, pretty easy, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up cleaning this museum for a couple of years. And afterward, we were comparing notes a couple of years later. I was like, hey, was that place haunted? She's like, oh, hell yeah. That place was so haunted. And then we started comparing notes. And I'm like, were you creeped out when you went into this one particular room? She's like, oh, yeah, I would never go in there at night. I said, I used to clean that place at night. She's like, oh, you're crazy. You are so crazy. I was like, well, it was the only time I could do it with my schedule and my kids and, blah, 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 blah. I used to go in there at 10 o'clock at night and clean that place. Yeah. I'd have to like flip on all the lights and like play, like music. And it was just like, oh my gosh. She's like, I can't believe you clean that place at night. I'm like, I know. I was like always checking behind my back. Felt like someone was like walking.
Somebody's behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cleaning at night is an experience all of its own. I mean, I was doing that when I was a kid with my mom, 7 years old, cleaning church. We cleaned a couple of churches here in town. One that I know of for sure, the Church of the Brethren. And there was like an upstairs area of that church. And that place was crazy. I had so many experiences up there. Just almost every time I'd go up there, I'd have experiences. And still to this day, it's almost like I'm not haunted, but being visited. I'll have dreams about the upstairs of that church. And it's nothing dark at all. They were always like bright, happy, but it was just, even as a little kid, just being able to pick up on that. And I told my mom about it. And later on in life, she's like, oh yeah, that place had some stuff going on. But it's just weird to think of like the amount of spiritual residue that's all around us every day. And I know that like cleaning at night was something that that's always when it would come out, was when I was cleaning at night. Like everything got crazy at night cleaning.
I got to the point in my spiritual development that I could not clean at night anymore, because every time it was like they would just come out of the walls and like follow me around. I'm like, you guys got to leave me alone. Because I got to get this done because I need to get paid. But there was a particular client that I had for many, 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 many years. And they moved I took care of their home and their family over 3 houses. And I first noticed things in their first house. And I thought, oh, okay, this is weird. This is before I was spiritually developed. And then they moved. And then there were things at the new house. I'm like, okay, something's going on. And then they moved again. And then it was like, okay, this is creepy. There's some kind of an attachment to this family. And I didn't like it. It wasn't a happy attachment.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so I continued to help the family because they were very dear to me. And I just love them. They're just good people, you know, and I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for that. They're just very kind and generous and loving, wonderful people. So it was my pleasure to help them for all those years. But I remember they were out of town or something, and they had invited a friend to stay at the home from out of town, and this lady was she was just, anyway, we were just kind of chatting there. It was just her alone in this big giant house, and she had also helped the family out, so she was kind of like another worker, you know. So she was really sweet, and we were just kind of like walking around the house, and she was helping me like make beds and take out trash. She was like helping me, and we were talking and that sort of thing. And I got to chatting with her. I'm like, hey, so what do you think about this house? And she said, oh, it's haunted. I'm like, no. And then we started comparing stories, and that was really validating for me. Not that it made it better, but at the end of the day, it was part of my spiritual development talking to that lady, because it's like, okay, this is not my imagination. And when that happened, that was like, all right, I need to learn how to control this and learn more about this, and be at peace with this and understand it. And so that's when I started training. So that lady was like key to that, but it's just really validating. And even after that, I was like, I am not cleaning this house at night. Nope, done. Nope, hard no.
Yeah. Yeah. What about your shower ghosts that you had that would love to rip the shower curtain down in the bathroom?
Oh, yeah. So I will say this about moving. I believe when you move into a new place, you have occupants, and you have to let them get to know you and to get used to you. And sometimes they're not happy about the change.
Yeah.
And after a while, they settle down, I think. And so it's happened here too, in this apartment.
Yeah.
And so I think it happens. And I think a lot of people, when they move, they just, you know, like, oh, that's weird. Why is my clock acting weird? You know, or, oh, that's weird. Why are the lights turning off and on? Like, oh, then they like, oh, better get maintenance out here. And like, no, maybe you need to like bless your home.
Yeah.
You know, bring the light in, you know, say some prayers or whatever, and say, hey, I'm a good person. This is my home. And if there's anything that's sketchy, like get the hell out. Get out.
Yeah, you had some interesting stuff going on in your house.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to talk about it.
Yeah.
On this.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is related to me too, because like for one thing, my brother who passed away, he's always around me. And so I think a lot of it's that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it also was I lost a really, really good friend to suicide. And so I think a lot of it was tied to that. Some of his ancestors were around. So I don't think a lot of my experiences, with the exception of one experience, which was totally out of the blue that happened, most of those experiences that I had were people that I knew and were around to support me and to guide me on my spiritual development. And they were family. And so it really, I think most of 90% of what I experienced was personal. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's totally different than going, on like a ghost tour and touring somewhere like that. Like, I think if we ever had the opportunity to go over to just to England or Ireland or Scotland, we would have some really interesting and awesome experiences. Like we think about old, and you can't even encompass what old means until you're in a place that, was built thousands of years ago. And it really the feelings there, the residual energies there are just so powerful. I have never felt anything like I felt when I was over there. It was incredible.
Definitely. Oh, and that's the other. I just remembered that was my first haunted tour was when I was in Edinburgh.
Nice.
Yeah, this was like, okay, crazy. This is another long story. See, this is why we can talk for hours. This is why it's going to be good. But yeah, so I went to when let's see, how old? My oldest daughter was, I think she was in kindergarten, and my middle child was a baby. So went to excuse me, went to England, flew into Gatwick. We spent a week bopping around, seeing some really cool things in England. And then also went to Edinburgh. And this was my first haunted tour. I did this haunted walking tour in Edinburgh. And it was kind of the same sort of thing. You meet up at this park or whatever, and the guide's there and they tell you about the history. And then I remember walking down these cobblestones, and exactly what you said, mirroring exactly what you said about you don't know old until you walk on the cobblestone streets of England and Scotland. And it's our country is very new.
Very new.
And not new, I mean like new for development. Everything's new here, really. I mean, how old is the oldest thing that I experienced in the United States was when I was in Massachusetts and I went to like the Salem Witch Cemetery.
Yeah.
And that's pretty freaking old. I went into one of those churches, which was not the oldest church, but it was like one of the oldest churches in New England. And it was beautiful, but I just wanted to go in there, like this is history. This is so cool. But yeah, as far as like old, that's as old as it gets here, 1600s,
Yeah.
But when you go to England, whoa, centuries and centuries, like you can just feel it. It permeates through the ground. It holds, I think it just holds so much antiquity that, and walking through those castles.
Yeah.
Oh man, those castles. And that was one of my thoughts. I think I mentioned this when we were on the phone, like pre-recording the other day. Like, I think what we could do is explore some of these old historic castles on the podcast. I think that'd be so cool.
And that would be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be such good. I think our listeners would really enjoy that. Like there's so many castles there and like, yeah, I can't remember. I have to look up the castles that I went to. Did you get to do any castles when you were?
We did. My hand got grabbed. So that was pretty cool.
Oh.
Not like a creepy grab, but like a squeeze. It was really awesome. Yeah, we did. I want to say it was one in Scotland that we did. But it was amazing. We did the cruise, so it was, we got to see a little bit of everything, which was cool, but I would want to go back and spend some time like in Belfast was really cool and just everywhere over there in Edinburgh, you are walking down the street and there's a block that's on the road that says this is the site of the first public hanging, and it's just like a really like woo, like eerie feeling. But I think that that's something that we would have endless opportunities to do things like that. Like people would love that.
Oh yeah, for sure. We could even film.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, I'm not paying anybody a permit to do that shit. I'm just gonna be like, here's my GoPro.
Right.
I'm just gonna be like walking around like, hey, let's go over here in this corner. I don't like to play by the rules with that kind of stuff. Like,
no.
Yeah. Oh, so much we could do. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's one thing that I want to do is get equipment. I want to start getting some equipment. I don't mean like anything too high tech, but like GoPros. I want to get some thermal imaging stuff. And if there's any, if you know of, I don't know, more the merrier. I think it takes, I don't know who might be interested in helping us or who has the time and the commitment. That's the thing is like the time and the commitment to do something like that. Maybe out in the woods for sure. I have some friends that I know I've talked to before about going on expedition. I just don't know how serious they are and how willing they would be to travel. And so that's the thing.
Yeah. And I'm more than willing to do that kind of thing. So
yeah, that's the cool thing about getting older is like, you're like, I really don't care what anybody thinks.
no,
Really really don't. All right. Well, I think we could land this plane for today.
All right.
Our plan is to meet up once a week, and we're going to start putting this content out, and we're just going to throw it out there in the universe and see what happens. And I think it's going to be great. Yeah. Dog barks, echoey rooms. Yeah. My room is really echoey. I'm not editing this shit. It's editing audio. It's something I want to learn, but it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a use for AI. Let's see what AI can throw at this and make it clean. I don't know. But yeah. All right.
Once you get some stuff up on your walls too, it won't be quite so bad.
Totally.
And yeah, I'm just in bed now, but I'll get something set up and
yeah. And you have a new microphone coming.
Sweet, thank you.
Setup. Yeah. Yeah,
Merry
absolutely.
Christmas to me.
Merry Christmas.
Awesome.
Or whatever. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. We have Sara.
That's me. And Monica.
And Monica, we have Alex today. I locked my cat out. My cat was being crazy this morning. She finally came out from underneath the bed. But we have Alex. Alex is here. Alex is probably napping.
She is definitely napping. She laid here and got pet for about an hour and then decided to take a nap. So
yeah,
she's like, this is cool. You never sit down and hang out with me.
It's good energy. Yeah. I miss my cat like sitting on my lap because I always do my reading in the morning. And that was like our time. She would just sit there and I'm just like, all right. She'd like lay her chin on my forearm and just lay there. And I just drink my coffee and I read and take notes and whatever. And then when I was done with my coffee, I'd be like, all right, coffee, cat, talk, reading time is over. And she'd spaz out and run away. And let's hear it for our cats.
Let's hear it for our cats.
All right. Thank you, Miss Sara.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to another great episode. Be sure and like, share, or follow this podcast by leaving a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. If you have an experience you'd like to share, be sure and reach out to verbalecho@gmail.com. If you know someone who'd like to tell their story, please send them our way. I want to talk to them. No guardrails. Have a great week, friends. See you in the next episode.